SCAPE is an Interreg 2Cs programme funded by the European Union with partners in Belgium, the Netherlands and the United Kingdom. SCAPE stands for Shaping Climate Change Adaptive Places and investigates how coastal areas can be made resilient to climate change by introducing smart water management and innovative tools. There are 6 pilot projects in Flanders, the Netherlands and England. In November 2017, all partners gather in England and visit the projects in Brighton and Hove, Norton Road and Carden Avenue, and a project in the Darrant Valley in Kent. John Dinnis is one of the many farmers in the Darrant Valley, which is situated south of London. He shows us around and explains why the River Darrant, a tributary of the River Thames, doesn't flow in the lowest part of the valley. The river has been moved to allow the meadows to flood and to supply the 38 mills along the river.
And also there was a big house down there, and the owner of the house, Lord Mildmay, wanted the river to run past his house, so he moved it.
The Darrant River flows over chalk ground and is a perfect habitat for various insects and specific plants. Back in the 70s and 80s, parts of the river dried up completely. From time to time, it also floods.
Just below us we have the village of Shoreham, and if water flows through here very fast, that can flood the houses down there.
Has that happened very recently?
2 or 3 years ago, yes, there was a car floating down the high street.
We brought this project into the SCAPE project because we need to look at how climate change is going to have an impact in the future and how we can mitigate against low flows as well as also flood conditions as well. We don't want to try and restore it back to a natural course because, first of all, we don't know precisely what its natural course was. And these different channels have created their own habitats and landscape features in their own right. What we're trying to do is to look at how we can naturalise the channels that are here already and look at how the management of the landscape around the river can be changed so that we try to mitigate against these problems around drought and flooding.
The project of the Darrant Valley is huge. It is 135 square kilometres and is important from the heritage point of view as well as for biodiversity.
Chalk grassland is one of the most important habitats that we have in the UK, sometimes called the tropical rainforest of the United Kingdom, because there are so many different species of plant which are found within the grassland, and they in turn support lots of insects, which then in turn support birds and other animals as well. It only survives through the grazing of animals. So if it's not managed correctly and the animals don't graze the grass, then it turns into scrub and then will gradually turn into woodland, and you lose the chalk grassland. And whilst woodland's important, chalk grassland is even more important.
The site is owned by the Kent County Council, and they're also looking to increase the access so that the public can enjoy it. We go down south and visit Brighton and Hove. Brighton is a city on the south coast of England in the county of East Sussex. It has 285,000 inhabitants. SCAPE has arranged a reception in the town hall with the mayor.
European funding here is still helping us. Lucky. Got that one before the dreaded Brexit. So I'm looking forward to seeing the innovative ideas.
One of the pilots is Norton Road, situated in Hove. Norton Road runs right next to the new town hall of Hove. There are a lot of basement properties in this part of the city, and they are very vulnerable to flooding.
And that's what happened back in July 2014. We had a lot of hailstones just fell out the sky. It's like sort of 2 or 3 months worth of rain in one hit. The street drains just can't take that sort of volume of water, and very soon you get the water cascades down the streets. It becomes like a torrent, and it starts going down the steps into the basement properties, and some properties have the problem, others don't, and there's lots of little subtle differences in the local landscape why that might be. And so what we're doing in the project is to look at what little subtle changes we can make to the street to either try and direct the water flows away from the vulnerable properties, and also to try and hold water for a longer period so it doesn't become such a deluge and such a volume, somewhere for the water to hang around and soak away after the event without it adding to the problem.
The Flemish partner Faris has some ideas to tackle the flooding problems in Norton Road without breaking up the whole road.
We will put some grids in the middle of the street. The water came off the hills and passed into the grids. And for the cars, it's possible to park over. So we have a solution who combines parking problems and the water problems. There is a parallel with the city river in Ostend, where we put in the middle of the street an open city river, an open basin, to collect the water before it drains in the ground.
He also suggests to create a water buffer next to the town hall on the public square that needs to be reconstructed. Plants could hold the water until it can be released into the sea when the sea level is low. We leave the centre of Hove and drive further on. It is quite hilly here and Carden Avenue is a hot spot. In extreme events, surface water uses the road as a conveyance route. It affects properties which are lower than the road.
There were many floodings there in the last, 100 years. There's been, 20 separate events of flooding. And I think as well they're becoming more frequent as the climate changes, so it's very important that we develop systems and ways of managing surface water in these more extreme events and help to reduce the flood risk for these areas, because they're just becoming more frequent. We've had an incident every year for the last 3 to 4 years. If we can find a way to reduce the amount of surface water that's getting into the foul sewer, then we can increase the capacity and take the pressure off the foul sewer, which will stop it from surcharging. And also if we find ways of capturing the water before it gets to these areas, to these low spots, and allow a system of attenuation and slow release, then this problem will reduce and there shouldn't be as much surface water coming down to this area, and the natural system should be able to cope.
The water manager would also like to increase infiltration and biodiversity in the green spaces along the road that are now just used for grass. During the meeting in Brighton and Hove, some experts are invited to share their expertise and knowledge. People from the Ghent University in Belgium give an update on the digital and automated version of the climate test.
We are trying to make a more uniform and optimized way to handle the climate test, because there are different projects with each their own test, and it's hard to compare them. So we are making a more digital and optimized methodology so they can really be compared and they can have an evaluation. We will add some general information, some general statistics on the land use in the project sites before and after the project has been completed. So we can really compare if there is more built-up area, more green, more unpaved or paved. But we will also look at some climate effects like heat island effect and flood risk after the project has been completed.
For the partners and stakeholders of the SCAPE project, it is very interesting to visit the projects.
We've done the climate tests in September, so that was about 2 months ago, and it was all on paper, so we could see the plans on paper and try to get a grip of the projects. But once you see it in real life, then it suddenly becomes clear what they mean with the soakaways, with how severe the floods can be in the streets, like the streets that we're in here now. If you can see it really on the ground, it makes it much more tangible.
SCAPE started in September 2016 and ends in August 2020. The City of Ostend, which is the lead partner, has to make sure that they are on schedule.
The phase we now got was a lot of preparation, a lot of administration involved with it, and from now on, in January, February on, all the pilots will deliver their major investments, and the first works will start at that moment. It involves, as a lead partner, a lot of administration, but we have a great team behind us to get everything prepared right on time. So I think we are on schedule.